Supreme Court reserves the judgment in federal government's suit against 36 state governors on local government autonomy.
Federal High Court, Kano, declares that the dethroned Emir, Aminu Ado Bayero, has jurisdiction to be heard.
Nigeria's Center for Disease Control and Prevention alerts Nigerians to increasing cases of cholera outbreak across the country.
And a good morning, Nigeria. Today, we shall take a look at organs transplantation.
Organ transplant is a medical procedure where a diseased or damaged organ is replaced with a healthy one from a donor. Now, the donor can be a living person or a deceased individual who has given consent for their organs to be used after death.
Now, there are different types of organ transplants. It could be kidney transplant, liver transplant, heart transplant, the lungs, the cornea, that's talking about the eye, bone marrow transplant, skin transplant, intestine transplant, and face transplant.
Yeah, and the transplant process involves evaluation, assessing the patient's suitability for a transplant. You know, you talk about the matching, which is finding a compatible donor organ, the surgery, removing the deceased organ and implanting the healthy one. Then there is recovery, post-surgery care and monitoring, immunosuppression, which indicates medication to prevent rejection of a new organ.
That's a complex process, if you like, and organ transplant can significantly improve quality of life and survival chances for patients with end-stage organ failure or severe organ damage.
There are do's and don'ts in all of this process of organ transplant in Nigeria. Now, some of the do's of organ transplant include that you must ensure that you're well informed. Of course, information is power. Patients and donors must be aware of the risks and benefits of organ transplantation. They must provide informed consent, meaning that the donors and patients must give their consent before the procedure.
The list goes on. You also need to ensure a close multidisciplinary collaboration that's between surgeons, physicians, and psychologists, which must work together to ensure the patient and donor are in the best frame of mind. Of course, access to suitability is also another aspect. Donors are interviewed and assessed for suitability and fitness for organ donation. You also need to ensure that organ donation is voluntary and not induced by any form of compensation. There's also the reimbursement of expenses. So donors may be reimbursed for reasonable expenses incurred during donation.
And for the don'ts, of course, you can't commercialize organs. Buying and selling and commercializing organs is illegal in Nigeria. Now, coercion of donors is also a no-no. Donors must not be coerced or induced to donate organs. Transplant without authorization is also out of it. And then hospitals must be authorized to engage in organ transplant services. Transplant without consent means that you are breaking another rule. Organs must not be removed without the donor's informed consent. And the list goes on and on. You cannot discriminate as well. Priority in organ transplantation must not be based on wealth or social status.
All right, so much has been said, and so we are focusing on a life-saving medical procedure that has become a beacon of hope for many Nigerians, organ transplant. As Nigeria grapples with a significant shortage of organ donors and a struggling healthcare system, many citizens are forced to seek medical attention abroad at great cost and, of course, risk. But there are glimmers of hope.
You can say that again. Recent advances in organ transplant surgery and the establishment of specialized centers in Nigeria offer new promise. So, join us as we explore the state of organ transplantation in Nigeria, the challenges and opportunities, and the stories of hope and resilience. Our panel of discussants will provide insight and analysis, and we'll hear from medical professionals, patients, and families who have been impacted by organ transplant. Welcome to the program. I'm Victor Azu.
And I'm Henry John. It's a wet Friday.
Yes, wet Friday.
In Abuja.
Have you been living out of Abuja and out of Nigeria?
Okay, so I do not know what's like at your end, but of course the weather is just cool for us to keep you company, and so we expect you to stay tuned. So the program is loaded. It's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We're live right here at our headquarters in Abuja. The newspaper review will hit you shortly. Of course, that would get you a little bit warm if you're cold. But for now, let's have a bit on the morning news. We have our beautiful newscaster here, Frama Pai, looking like it's not a wet Friday. How you doing, Frama?
Yeah, good morning.
You don't look cold.
I mean, it's a beautiful morning here in Abuja. Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Nigerians. Here is the morning news. The Supreme Court has reserved judgment in the suit filed by the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, praying the court to grant local governments in Nigeria full autonomy. This was after parties in the matter adopted their final written addresses.
Most of us in all the states of the Federation have contended that that is not the true position. And we have submitted our true positions in respect of all the various states to the court.
The Court of Nigeria has no original jurisdiction to entertain this matter on the ground that the relief sought are beneficial to the local governments of Nigeria who are not parties to the matter.
Still talking judiciary matters, a federal high court sitting in Kano says it has jurisdiction to continue hearing the case of human rights violation against the deposed Emir Aminu Ado Bayero. The matter was adjourned to the 14th of June for hearing of motions and pending applications.
Today, we have successfully convinced the court that the court has jurisdiction, and we are coming back here to take other applications.
The substantive matter will be heard, so we will now see whether jurisdiction alone can, give the court powers based on its finding to sustain the application before the Honorable Court.
Rescue operations are still ongoing 9 days after a mining pit at Galadima Kobo, Shiroro local government area of Niger State collapsed, where 5 people were rescued with 2 confirmed dead, while 30 others are still buried under the rubble. A statement by the Director of Information and Strategy, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Habibu Abubakar Ushishi, indicates that 9 days after the tragic incident, rescue operations are still ongoing at the site. He explained that the rescue team are performing the task manually due to terrain of the collapsed pit, which is responsible for slow pace of work on the site. Habibu Abubakar Wushishi reiterated that government is committed to rescuing those still trapped under the rumbles. And talking security now, troops of the Nigerian army within 7 days rescued 251 kidnapped victims, eliminated 197 terrorists, and arrested 310 criminals. In a statement, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says the troops also recovered 180 assorted weapons and 5,123 ammunition. The Defense Headquarters assures that it will continue to work to restore safety across the nation. Now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, is alerting members of the public of the increasing trend of cholera cases across the country following the recently reported outbreak in Lagos State and as the rainy season intensified. NCDC report says a total of 1,141 suspected and 65 confirmed cases of cholera with 30 deaths have been reported between the 1st of January to the 11th of June across 96 local government areas in 30 states of the Federation this year. The Director General of the NCDC, Dr. Jide Idris, in a public health anniversary states that a multi-sectoral national cholera technical working group led by the NCDC comprising relevant key players has been providing support to the affected states, and Nigerians are therefore advised to, among other precautionary measures, boil water and store in clean, covered containers before drinking, wash hands frequently with soap under clean running water, as well as seek immediate medical attention for sudden watery stool. And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Victor Anyere after this commercial break.